These two actually reminded me a lot of a situation going on in real life in pop culture right now.
Who?
I'm surprised you don't immediately know who I'm talking about.
The only thing that comes to mind is Ariana Grande and what's his face? SpongeBob.
Ethan Slater.
Yeah.
No, okay. So
Ariana Grande and Cynthia Vera. Anyone with Ariana Grande.
nothing about Ariana Grande.
Where are the quiet gays? Where are the quiet gays supposed to go?
Why is your lighting so good? That is a big cat.
I know, he's really big.
He's so big. He's so cute. He's just like sitting there. He kind of looks like literally like a mountain lion or like a panther.
He does look like a panther. He looks like Toothless from How to Train Your Dragon.
Oh, you're so right. Oh,
Yeah.
how's Montana?
It's so good.
Yeah, you're having a good time.
Yeah. I
Good.
just was at the high school yesterday helping my dad. And
Cute.
yeah, I have read almost a whole nother book. I've read almost 400 pages in the last 2 days.
What are you reading?
Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow.
I've heard that's like incredible.
It's so good.
Yeah. Okay, I'll have to read
Yeah.
it. I like binged the Christmas Pic. I read it in like 2 days.
Yeah, I mean, it is a really, really fast read, isn't it?
Yeah, super fast read. It's like if Hallmark made books, like Hallmark holiday movies made a book, it would be this book.
No, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, because aren't both of these authors, they used to work for Hallmark, right?
Yeah, they might still. I'm not sure, but yes, they do. I know, isn't that funny? But
Yeah.
when I went to the book launch for this book, they said, also, hello, everyone. Welcome back.
Hi.
Welcome back to Lesbian Book Club. We are covering the Christmas pick, and we're so excited to talk about it. But I did go to this book launch, which was really fun. And Rena, one of the co-authors, was talking about why they wanted to like make this book. And it was like they both worked at Hallmark, and like when like the characters in like Hallmark movies, they have to be really palatable. And like they are talking about how Ava, like they really wanted to write a character who like wasn't quote unquote likable, right? Like, but what does that also like even mean? But they really wanted to write a character that wasn't like just stereotypical, like type likable characters, you know? And I thought that was really cool. And I definitely think Ava, like I liked Ava though. So I don't know. I mean, I get where they were going. They like made her very like brash and harsh at the beginning. But I don't
Yeah.
know. What did you think?
I think that when you're inside Ava's point of view, you like Ava, but when you aren't, you're like, what is her problem?
No, honestly though, Joe kind of too. Like the we'll get to it obviously, but the encounter at the coffee shop where they were at the very beginning when they first met was like crazy. That was like such a harsh back and forth where I was like, both of these girls are being really mean right now.
Although I feel like Joe was sort of, I don't know, I feel like Joe kept her calm pretty well considering the circumstances.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But also, I mean, yeah, Ava did like basically pour her coffee on her.
Yeah. I think I would have handled that not as well as Joe did.
That's fair. Did you like identify with either of these characters?
I think mm, I mean, I don't know if I necessarily felt super like either one of them. There were pieces of each of them that I was like, oh yeah, I get that. But I don't know that I necessarily completely like saw myself in either of them.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I have to agree. Normally I'm pretty good at like picking out a character in the book that I'm like, oh, that's me. But I didn't in this book, which I actually thought was a really nice like turn of events in reading a book. And maybe it was because the perspective flipped so much that it was like low-key a little hard to like super identify with one because I felt like my brain was like trying to go back and forth so much. What did you think about the character perspective switch?
I like books that go back and forth between characters. I really, really like books like that because I like getting to hear it from both sides.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like them too. What? We've read another book like that, and I can't remember which one it was. Shoot.
Well, The Unfinished Line was like that, except for that it was the first and third person.
We can't talk about that.
I know, it's too fresh.
I'm still not recovered from it.
Senator's Wife was like that too, though, wasn't it? We had from both Alex and Catherine's points of views.
Yes, I think that's what I was thinking of. I was also thinking, did you ever read The Girl on the Train?
No.
Ooh, it's not gay, but it's really good. It's like a murder mystery type thing. And the whole time you think that one of the main girl who's like kind of being framed for this murder is like going crazy. And it's like she starts to believe she's going crazy as well. It's really, really good. Like a psychological thriller, but it does that perspective switch as well. I think that's the first book I read like that. And I was like, damn, this is good. So yeah, but do you want to like hop into the plot? Because it was really fun. It was so fun.
It was. This book, before we get into it, it was co-written by Rena Sapon-White and Ella Schaefer. And Rena, I'm really sorry if I said your name wrong.
I think you did pretty good from what I know.
And so they both wrote this book. Mm-hmm. And I actually, whenever we get a chance to ask them this, I am curious if one of them was more heavy-handed in writing like one character, or do you know the answer to that?
I do. I found out the answer to that at the book launch again. So Ella wrote Joe's perspective. Okay. And Rena wrote Ava's perspective. Okay. And I guess that first they tried to like write separately and then come together, and they were like, this is not working. So they had to like rework the way they did it. It was a really cool, I'm excited for them to tell kind of the story of how this worked on the pod later. But yeah, so which is funny because Ella is a photographer and she was writing for Joe. So it was kind of cool because I was like, oh, Ella, hello. So yeah, that was pretty cool because I remember Ella used to do like headshots all the time because I know her. Obviously, I talked about it before, but
yeah, I'm excited. So that's how we ended up with this on the pod is
you
guys go back.
Yeah, which is funny. We go back like literally maybe like 13 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
13 years ago, I was like 12.
Yeah, exactly. I was like 19. I was like 18, 19, 20, Bible college, evangelical days. So whole different life. But she's got a whole different life too now, apparently.
Yeah, it would seem so.
So yeah. So plot wise, I thought the plot, I loved the plot and I felt like it was like a good pace and there was a lot of like action. Like there was just like a lot of things happening throughout it that I really liked. Like it wasn't a slow read. It was a very fast read in my opinion, as somebody who's a slow reader.
I mean, they definitely know the genre and they know how to like keep a pace going.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. What this book is it clearly is the genre of a Christmas Hallmark movie, but it is a book.
Yeah.
And like you said, it seems like they wrote this because they wanted to have this character. And also maybe it seems like they wrote it because they wanted to have like some queer representation in this genre.
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah. So it was kind of cool because I've never read a book that was like a Hallmark movie, but a book.
I love how we keep saying that.
So yeah, it's like, you know, when you go see a movie and you have to know what it is going into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what this is. I feel like is you can't go into this thinking that you're going to read like Lord of the Rings or something. Like you have to know, yes, this is a Christmas book and we're here because we're excited that it is the Christmas season, and we're reading the Christmas Pic, which is a Christmas story, and they did a really great job of moving it along. And they had two really great characters, which were Ava Garcia Green, who's a Puerto Rican American that is like, they use this as not a term of endearment in this book, but a girl boss CEO of Gramsta, which is like this world's Instagram.
Right. That's what I thought. I love that because that's very Hallmarky. It's like, okay, we're not going to call it Instagram. We're going to call it Gramsta. Like, so you know exactly where you are. You don't need a lot of like, you don't need a lot of information to understand the character, who she is, what she's doing. Like, you're like, oh, CEO of Instagram. Got it.
Exactly.
And like, yeah, quote unquote, girl boss, which I'm glad they kind of use that as like a smear because, or what's a smear? Yeah, smear, right? A slur. They kind of use it. Oh my God. The other day I said something so ridiculous and it wasn't even the right word. It was like, I was trying to say schmuck, but it was like, I think I said schmear. And I was like, that's not it.
That's what you put on a bagel.
I know. I know. No, a bagel and schmear. So I forgot where I was going because I got sidetracked by my
exactly
who
this character is with very little information.
Yes. I thought Joe was not a more intriguing character, but I wanted to get to know Joe more earlier in the book, right? Because she's like this cute little like photographer with this mobile photography truck, and it's all Christmassy, but it operates year round, but that's okay because they live in a Christmas town that's Christmas 100% of the time. And it's really cute. She has her assistant Emma, who's like kind of paid sometimes if they can afford it. And they're like childhood best friends. Their dads were best friends. So that's kind of like they grew up together, which is a really cute relationship. I like Emma and Joe's relationship a lot.
Yeah. Well, and I think that the way that you are saying that you feel about each of these characters mirrors real life and the way that we tend to, oh my God, I'm so sorry, but it's the window.
Something's happening outside the window. I just know it.
It is. There was like a wolf dog standing on top of like the railing of a porch, and it looks like it's a statue. It's not. Okay. Anyway,
it's not a real dog?
No, it is a real dog, but it's like balanced so precariously on like a very tall railing. And okay.
Oh my God,
anyway,
Haley. We need to sit you not facing a window.
You guys, I am also in a Christmas town in Montana, so things are just different today. My apologies.
I'm in the same place I always am.
But as I was saying, I think that the way that we form relationships with people like Ava and people like Joe are a lot like you were just saying. Like, we kind of, based on the information, the very little information that we get about people like Ava, who are really high profile and kind of celebrity status.
Yeah.
We feel like we know them and who they are, even though we don't really know a lot about who they are as a person. But we kind of are like, okay, yep, that's who that is. And we have a picture of the profile of this person moving forward. And then people like Joe, we just don't feel like we have a complete picture of this person until we really dive deeper and get to know them, because they're a person like us.
Right.
And we can relate to their humanity more.
Yeah, I think that's what they were kind of going for, was like the relatable character and the unrelatable character. You know, Joe is very relatable. She's got a small business. She's like, you know, has lived in this little town her whole life. She's very confident in her identity, right? And then you have Ava, who's this like high-powered, kind of out of touch, yes, celebrity type person who you can see doesn't really like want to feed into that. Like, she doesn't like it, but she's also like, I guess this is, you know, what kind of reminds me of like Taylor Swift, like the persona, and then like Taylor Swift, the person, where it's like Taylor Swift, who's like on tour and everything. Like, that's not her. I mean, it's her, but it's not like her personality. Like she is an icon who is like performing constantly, right? Versus like I'm sure she's very different with like her close friends, right? And I feel like that's the same thing. Yeah. I feel like that's the same thing with Ava is like you can't get to know her unless she lets you get to know her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She definitely has a guard up.
Yeah, she definitely has her guard up. But you kind of have to in that world. Like you have to have your guard up. You have to have thick skin. I would never survive. I would not survive that world. You know,
very difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, it would. Okay, so let's get started. So Joe is from Harmony Springs, which is a queer town started by queer people, like for them to have like their chosen people, their chosen home, their chosen friends. And the founders were like, you know, a lot of queer people have a hard time around the holidays. And so here is a like kind of sanctuary of where we can all be. It can be holidays year round with your chosen family. So that's where Joe lives. And her mom and dad were big parts in their life. Their mom is still with them. And then she has this photo truck. And now Ava is launching her new business over in LA, which is this is such a stupid idea, but I understand why she thought it would be like a hit. It's an AI generated Christmas card photo maker. So like if you don't have time to get your photos done, you can like use, I don't remember what it was called. You can use this app and you can like upload photos and they'll make like an AI Christmas card for you. So this is gonna could put Joe's whole business like out of business.
Do you want 43 teeth in your Christmas smile? Come right to us. We got you covered.
Do you want 7 toes and 2 noses? Well, guess what? We could do it. And so Ava's obviously like trying to promote this new app, obviously, like, and she ends up like really putting her foot in her mouth because she's not into Christmas. She like hates it. And she goes on like something like the Today Show to like do like a little ad spread for it, and she does it and it's not very good, but she's like, that's it, that's all people need to know. And she like goes off on this like, I don't know if it was like the camera guy or the director or whoever it was, and like goes off about Christmas and someone's recording it and releases it. And now she's in like a shit storm of bad press and she has to like try and fix it. So what does she do?
She goes on a radio talk show to try and repair her image. And this radio host decides to take calls from listeners. And one of these callers is Joe. And Joe calls in and just goes off on Ava about how she's destroying small businesses and isn't that against your mission. And then the radio host kind of like puts Ava in this position where she has to say yes to going to Harmony Springs and helping Joe bring her business back to life. And so neither Joe or Ava are really happy with this arrangement, but they have to do it because it was said on public radio.
Exactly. And the board of Gramsta thinks this will be good for Ava to like revamp her image. Like, oh, look, she does care. She does like Christmas, even though she like detests it. So she hops on a plane. She goes to Harmony Springs with her assistant Max, and Max is a cool character. I also like Max and Emma's relationship as like the assistants who are like kind of in the back orchestrating things, but also seem like, did they have like a thing?
Yes, they absolutely 100% had a thing. Emma and Max are like the ultimate sidekicks.
Yes.
They are so good. I think that Max is like the best character of this whole entire thing. And Max specifically is so capable.
Yeah.
They should run the world.
No, literally.
I say Max Supremacy 2025.
That's not even an election year.
It doesn't matter. This is a fictional world.
He can be, or they can be mayor of Harmony Springs.
Yeah. Oh, I love Max. Max just like knows everything before it's going to happen and gets it done, and also is just so empathetic and never lets Ava get to them, even though Ava is just such a harsh character sometimes. And Max is so sweet. And also, I feel like Max is the perfect buffer between the world and Ava.
Yes, I think that's exactly what Ava uses Max for. Not uses in like a like using them for. Ava genuinely cares about Max.
Yes.
And Max's loyalty to Ava because of that, I find like really beautiful. And I think Max is kind of the only person that really knows Ava until obviously like Joe comes into the picture. But Max really just is such a good friend for Ava to have. And I think it's the only friend Ava has.
Yeah. And you know what I was thinking about along this same, thread of how much Ava cares about Max is, so it's mentioned in the book somewhere that Gramsta is like LGBTQ plus affirming.
Right.
And that is, it's kind of implied that the reasoning for that is that Ava made it that way because of Max came and was like sobbing in Ava's arms, that they didn't feel right in their body.
Right.
And this was, so Max, for our listeners, Max is a non-binary character. If you have not reached that far in this book,
trans non-binary character.
Right. And Max, this was like pre-transition, and so Max was kind of like
figuring it out.
Getting into all of that, and came to Ava.
Yes.
And so Ava made the choice to like make the statement that Gramsta is affirming.
Yes.
And I was thinking about that and about how so many big corporations, either make these statements and take action and actually support communities, or they don't, or they actively go against it. And also in that book that I have been reading in the last couple days, Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, there's a couple that work for it's a video game company. It's like at the center of the book. And the main characters own this company. Okay. And there's a couple that they employ who are a gay couple, and this takes place in like it takes place over the span of 30 years, but during that time, San Francisco decides to do gay marriages. And so they get married at the courthouse in San Francisco, and then shortly after, the state of California, or maybe it was the national, I don't remember, was like, yeah, they overstepped, they can't do that, and they waived all of these gay marriages and said they are no longer legal.
Yeah.
And so then the owners of this video game company decided that in one of their like most famous games, where it's basically just like a free play, like you live in this idyllic little town and you can do whatever. Yeah. They decided to make gay marriage legal in this video game town, and like the mayor was performing all of these gay marriages, and you could like take your avatar and go get gay married.
That's
or like
so cute.
Yeah, or like whatever married, Yeah. And so that's obviously like a statement, and it allows action that makes the users feel a kind of way when like in the real world they aren't allowed to feel that way, right?
Right.
So I've been thinking about this, and it really kind of occurred to me for maybe the first time that, wow, it really only takes in many cases like one person maybe to appeal to the heart of somebody at the top
Yeah.
that like
Actually has power.
yeah, that they might not have had empathy to a situation before, and all of a sudden they like see it in a kinder light and decide to do something about it.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's another reason to have more bravery if you can, and like allow yourself to be vulnerable if you can with the people that you love, because giving them an opportunity to see you as yourself and to be the best versions of themselves is, I think, a way to let the world be a better place.
Yeah.
And when we don't give people the opportunities to be the best versions of themselves, then that chance is never there in the first place. Like, yes, they can just arrive there on their own, but many people never will without seeing it in a way that they wouldn't have before.
Yeah. No,
You know?
absolutely.
So anyway, that just made me think about that, and I was like, oh, wow.
I know. And they recount Max's story because I think they do it 2 or 3 times throughout the book. Is just, you can hear the like pain. You can feel the pain that Max was having when they went to Ava and like cried in her arms, the way that Ava describes it, it's like so emotional and like very impactful. And yeah, like you said, it makes that whole app a welcoming space. And it's also showing kind of the naysayers or like the world, like, we don't care what you think, like, we're going to stand with these people. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that throughout the book, Max gives Ava opportunities to be the best version of herself.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And not just in the context of like being vulnerable with her and allowing her to see who they are, but also in putting her in situations that she would not choose to go into on her own, that are spaces for rapid growth for her.
Yeah. Because Max will just be like, no, we're doing it. Let's go. Like, it's on. So Ava gets to Harmony Springs and meets Joe at a coffee shop, even though they weren't supposed to meet until the next day. Ava just like shows up. And this is the part we were talking about in the beginning where they're like such bickering. And like Ava's so out of touch with like normal people because she's like, I want what is it, like a Denver or a Colorado or something like that. She's trying to order this like coffee, and they're like, we have 2 coffees. We have coffee and we have gay hot chocolate. And she's
Gay
just
hot
like
chocolate.
and Ava's just like, I cannot stand it here. I cannot do this. And Max is like, I'll take the gay hot chocolate. But lo and behold, behind Ava is Joe, who she doesn't know that. And Joe's like, you like because Joe knows that it's Ava, because obviously Ava's a celebrity. We know what she looks like. And Joe's just like, you're a tourist type thing. Like, you don't know what you're talking about, blah, blah, blah. And Ava's like, I get why Ava was so defensive. She's like, who is this person? Like, what the hell? And they have this whole back and forth. And it's like really intense. I was reading it being like, oh God. Like, it was really harsh on both ends. But then ultimately, like, Ava spilled her coffee, right? She didn't like throw it on her.
Yeah, she spilled it, but I mean, it looked bad. And then she didn't even apologize. She just kind of like was like, well, what do you expect?
Yeah, no, that was really bad. And there was paparazzi outside. And so they start like, so the whole reason Ava is there is to like revamp her image.
Yeah.
And now she's like caught going out of a coffee shop and like throwing coffee on the girl whose business she's supposed to help. It does not look good.
Mm-mm.
Oh,
No.
and Joe is like a flaming lesbian. We forgot to say Joe is like full-fledged lesbian. As far as we know about Ava, straight.
Yeah. It's also these two girls, the whole book are never on the same page. And we, from the very beginning, we see it because they have two completely different ideas of what the goal is.
Right.
Ava thinks the goal is to fix her image. And Joe thinks the goal is to bring the business back to a steady spot.
Right.
Right. So they have never been on the same page. And also, I think Ava just generally at the beginning of this book is out of touch in like every way possible. Like you've already said, she's out of touch with regular people, but also she thinks that like the entire purpose of Gramsta is like for the good of humanity and that everything she's doing is for the good of humanity. But I don't think that she knows what that means. Like that's a phrase that she repeats often
Right.
throughout the first half of this book. And what does she think that is?
I don't know. She keeps saying it, but it's like in Princess Bride, she's like, you keep using that word. I don't think you know what it means.
It's like when she's gonna kill me for saying this, but my little sister used to read like me, avid reader, but she would read like so many books as a little kid that had these big words, and a lot of them were like British words.
Yeah.
And she would always use them in her regular speech, but had no idea what they actually meant. So she'd just be like this small child walking around, like throwing these random like British words into her regular speech, and everyone's like, "Do you know what that means? Because that didn't like work in that sentence." And she's like, "No,
like,
actually."
No, I've only read it.
Yeah, and it's the same thing. It's the same thing with Ava and the good of humanity.
And yet Ava has such a small idea of what the good of humanity is, because not all the good of humanity is going to be like tech-based, app-based. Like not everyone wants to live like that, you know?
Right. Yeah. I mean, her vision of it's the white savior complex, except for
Exactly.
that she's not white, but like she has this idyllic like CEO in Hollywood life where she has houses like spread across the world that she barely ever goes to, but she can just afford, and like there's just nobody else almost living the way that she is, and the majority of the world is having a very different experience than she is.
Right.
But she thinks that she knows what they need. But the thing is that like you can't just give something to somebody and say that they need it.
Yeah, especially if you don't even know what that is. And that's exactly what she tries to do with Joe and her business. She's like coming in with all these ideas and everything. It's like, well, you don't even understand the heart of the business. You don't understand. She's like, well, I don't need to know that. This is just what works. And at the end of the day, like Ava does get to know Joe a lot better and ends up understanding the business from a very deeper perspective and realizing like, oh, like, yeah, the business should have an online presence, but like, that's not the point of this photo truck.
Mm-hmm.
And until you understand the reasoning behind it, you're not going to be able to help at all, because your
Right.
help is like so cookie cutter when it really needs a personal touch, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. And once she was able to dig into what was important to the community of Harmony Springs and what was important to Joe, and she found out that the mission was belonging.
Yeah. Yeah, that
And
was such a
like,
good part.
oh my gosh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Then she was able to figure out how to really help the truck and how to harness the power of community and the sense of belonging. And once she does all of that, then she sees a lot of really rapid success and growth.
Oh my God, you guys, my girlfriend just brought me like homemade coffee, and not homemade coffee like oh, she brewed the coffee. No, it's not like she like made it in a kettle like over the stove, like starting with water and put like brown sugar and like cinnamon sticks in it and like everything. And oh my God, it smells so good. And she also made hot chocolate from scratch this morning too.
Wow.
It smells so much so good. And she came in, she was like put her finger over her lips, like shh, like here you go. It
I
smells
could
so
only
good.
see, because of the background, I could only see the hand.
Yeah, she was like, here. Oh my God, it smells so good, you guys. I wish you could smell it through this podcast.
I wish I could too.
She'll make it for you. It's too hot to drink.
I would love that.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry for that interruption. But where were we?
Everybody, wherever you are, in your cars, in your bedroom, in your office, everybody do a collective, oh. Ready? On 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh.
I did it for myself.
Okay, now moving on.
Okay, moving on.
So here's a question I'd like to pose.
Okay.
Romance and working together. Does it work?
Well, I think ultimately at the end, Joe and Ava would say yes. But I don't know. I feel like it's too many paths of lives to intertwine and to keep regulated. You know? Because if you're like, if your business depends on your relationship and your relationship depends on your business, like, I just think it's too many paths to cross and too many potential conflicts that will arise.
Yeah. I think for these two specifically, what their biggest problem is that they are wild with making assumptions about what the other one is thinking or feeling. Like, they have a serious problem with this. And this whole book, I mean, I can just, Rena and Ella, I don't know you, but I can just hear you in your little meetings about this book just giggling, being like, oh, and they're going to make another assumption and another assumption and another assumption, and it's going to derail them for 3 chapters.
Yep.
Listen here, everybody. As I've told you before, and I'll tell you again, my therapist always says, do not assume.
Yes. No, seriously, it's the worst. You know, the little like idiom where it's like, assuming makes an ass out of you and me.
Yeah, because you have to, if you don't ask, you'll never know. You have to ask to know what they're feeling. And that's their problem, is that both of them just like immediately assume the worst about what the other one is thinking or feeling, when that's actually not the case at all. But each of the other one thinks that like the other one is not interested or hates them or thinks that this will never work, or like blah 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 blah, whatever.
Or
you
like
name it.
assuming the motives behind certain actions too, that are
Yes.
like completely wrong. And it's like,
Yes.
especially when you're like assuming negatively, when it's like, oh no, but my intention like was so pure and that wasn't how I meant it. And you know, it's so hard too, because you're getting both people's perspectives. You're getting Joe and Ava's perspective, and you're going, wait, that's not at all what she said. Wait, well, how did you get there?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like they'll be on the right track, and then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, and that's why we'll never work, because she just hates me. And I'm like, oh God.
Like, for the love of God, you guys. Which is again why I love that this is like so Hallmarky, because it's so exaggerated, I felt like it's not necessarily like real world, which I love. I mean, obviously it's Christmas time, like we're stepping out of like our real world lives, but it was so funny, all their miscommunications. But I also felt really bad for them because I'm like, girls, get it together. This is not that difficult.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, yeah, that was so frustrating. Big communication problems. I think other than the communication problems, they were cute together. These two actually reminded me a lot of a situation going on in real life in pop culture right now.
Who?
I'm surprised you don't immediately know who I'm talking about.
The only thing that comes to mind is Ariana Grande and what's his face? SpongeBob.
No. Ethan Slater.
Yeah.
No.
Ooh.
Okay. So
Ariana Grande and Cynthia Vera. Anyone
no,
with Ariana Grande.
Nothing about Ariana Grande.
Okay, who?
Okay. So we have Joe, our like the people love her photographer, out lesbian, has been a lesbian forever. Okay. Has a history of dating straight girls turned gay.
Fletcher and Shannon?
You're on to something.
Shannon and that one girl?
Becca?
Shannon and that one girl. Yeah. You know what? I don't follow Shannon. I never have.
Okay. So we are talking about Shannon Beveridge and Becca Moore, okay, I'm going to preface this by saying that I actually don't think that anybody has a right to comment on like their breakup. I think that everyone should just stay out of their business.
They broke up. The straight girl and her broke up. Okay.
But I do think that this mirrors this situation very, very closely.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah, we have this like long historied photographer lesbian who has a history of dating girls that were straight.
Right.
Or thought they were straight. And we have Ava, semi-celebrity person, Becca, semi-celebrity person on social media who thought she was straight until she met Shannon. Ava thought she was straight until she met Joe. Start dating. Both of them are like, eek, not sure, oof. And anyway, Becca and Shannon just released a We Broke Up podcast episode.
With her, right?
Yeah, like together.
They were like
processing their breakup live on this episode.
That's funny. Did you listen to it?
No, I've just listened to the clips that have been circulating on TikTok. And I've been listening to like people's takes on it.
Okay.
People are very mad at Becca, which I think that people need to just leave her alone.
Why are they mad at her? I don't get it.
Because the big reason that she broke up with Shannon was that she realized that she would not be able to have biological, like kids that are half her and half Shannon.
Okay, is she stupid?
Well, so she said that she hadn't thought about that before and that now she's thinking about it. She doesn't know if she can get over not having kids that are half her and half the person she loves, and that if she doesn't think she can get over that, she doesn't want to waste any of Shannon's time, even though she loves Shannon and wants to be with her.
Okay, I understand not wasting someone's time if like that's like a deal breaker, but what? I'm sorry, that's a really weird reason to be like, we broke up. What? I can't. Because they're two women.
They are two women.
She thought that she could have two biological children. I
don't think she thought that she could. It seems like she just didn't think about it before. And now that she's like starting to think about, like they got more serious and she's starting to think about kids, it's becoming like an issue for her. But
okay.
I don't know, people are like really mad at her about it and are getting like triggered by it. And I just think like okay, it's an issue for her, and
I get why people are mad at this girl though, because that makes no freaking sense.
I mean, I get it, but also I
Okay.
just don't think that
You said people should leave her alone.
yeah, I think like it's her business. Let her be sad.
Well, aren't
Like,
they both like really young? Well, Shannon's young, but like, is
Shannon's like
Becca?
33.
Becca's 33?
Shannon. I don't know how old Becca is. Becca's like my age, I think.
It's okay. So Becca's young. You know, poor Shannon. Every single girl she's been with has broken up with her. She's never broken up with anyone.
But isn't this like this book?
Yeah, it's a lot like this book.
Except for the
Except
ending.
for the except for the ending.
But I was watching this and I was like, oh my God, this is literally the same. But anyway, Ava ends up coming around, but she doesn't at first. At first, she thinks this is too much.
Right.
I can't put it on Joe that I'm figuring out like I like girl feelings for the first time, and she disappears. She just pieces out and goes back to LA, and Joe is left like very upset.
Right.
And so for a while there's like a lot of relational turmoil going on here, and then they end up repairing, but it isn't like a happy ending for a minute there.
I know. I wasn't surprised that Ava just took off at the end. So what ends up happening, so everyone knows, is like they get together, they have this like 1 week like of like very intense, you know, as lesbians do. And okay, the truck that Joe has is called Chrissy the Christmas truck. And it just it's her dad's truck, and that's like why she loves this truck and loves this business. And it ends up going kaput. It cannot be fixed. And it's really sad. It's like a 40-year-old truck. And Ava just decides to buy her a new truck that she's completely redesigned and everything, which on surface level is a really, really nice thing to do. But Joe is like, has a lot of mixed feelings about it, of course. And I don't fault Ava for leaving. Like Joe made it really clear that like she was like, you don't understand me. You don't understand this business. This is all about your reputation and salvaging it and everything. And so Ava leaves. And I don't like fault her, but also it's like, have a damn conversation, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, no, Joe did make her feel like pretty unwanted in that outburst. In Joe's defense, she had a very stressful day.
It is Christmas Day.
You know what I was also thinking about is that they made Joe have like this backstory that makes her very easily likable.
Yeah, she does with her dad and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, like you want to sympathize for her with the whole like dad backstory and how hard she's worked to keep his legacy alive. And, you know, she moves into the back house to be there for her mom. And she is just like kind of living this hard knock life trying to keep this thing going.
Right.
And, you can tell she's well loved by the people around her in the community. And then Ava, in stark contrast, has pretty much no backstory the entire book until the very end. And this is actually one of my criticisms of this book, is that I wish that we would have kind of gotten more of the backstory earlier on.
With Ava and her mom.
Yeah, because I felt a little like, I mean, we did get the backstory that like her and her mom are estranged earlier on, right. But it felt at the end like there was a bit of just kind of a rush to resolve it.
Yeah.
And like
it was a little rushed. I absolutely agree.
Yeah, like they kind of threw it in there and wanted to
I
just like
think it
force the
was,
mom together.
yeah, but I think it was trying to be like a character development for Ava because of how much like Joe misses her dad and how they didn't, it's like I think Ava said like I want to fix this with my mom because you never know when she's like not going to be around to talk to anymore,
Mm-hmm.
which like I appreciated that
Mm-hmm.
viewpoint. But it was a little rushed at the end because you were like you didn't know the mom very much.
No, yeah. Which I also think that a way to help fix this a little bit would have been part of what I think made it feel like a little forced was that there was this like surprise autism drop at the end.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, that felt very out of place to me. Like her mom just kind of dropped out of nowhere that like, oh, I never told you this. But if it makes you feel better, you have autism.
Yeah.
And then Ava was like, oh yeah, makes sense. And then they just like move on and she just like happily goes on with her life.
Yeah.
And that just didn't seem real to me. Like it seemed like maybe they wanted to add some sort of depth to Ava and a reason for her to not relate to people like
Yeah,
as
or like a
well or
reason for
something.
her harshness or something, which I don't think is necessarily like a great look, to be honest. But
Yeah.
I also think they were just trying to tackle something of like I'm trying to like get my words. I think they were trying to tackle like a societal thing that's very current right now, which is like women and ADHD and women on the autism spectrum, like how underdiagnosed we are and how a lot of times we like those women do thrive in like high pressure situations and careers. I just thought it was like a little bit out of place.
Yeah. I think it just could have been handled differently if that was going to be a part of Ava's character. It because it just
Yeah.
didn't seem like it felt like a at the end like, oh, sprinkle that on, okay, bye.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my criticism of the book is that the end of Ava's story was a little like jarring.
Yes. I don't disagree with that. But I mean, I am still a sucker for like a happy ending where they like Joe flies to LA and like is speeding down the highway in her Uber with Emma and is like and they end up like getting together and and Ava quits being a CEO, which I thought also a little
Yeah.
interesting. A little
Yeah.
but I was like, you know what? Good for her. Like, here's my thing. If I was a CEO and I had made millions and millions of dollars and I had homes all around the world, you would never hear from me again. I would quit. I'd have my investments. I would go enjoy my life. No way in hell am I going to keep working. Like, I mean, I get it's like some people's drive and passion, but I'm like, maybe money is my passion. Maybe like living just a beautiful life when I don't have to worry about money and I have everything that I need. Like, you really wouldn't hear from me again. I'd be like, sell the company, sell it. I'm gonna
Yeah.
go.
Well, and a big part of this too is that her life was controlled by the board, which is this group of men who, while she was young, took advantage of her naivety and had her
Yeah,
sign this contract that she could not get out of. And now they own like majority part of her company that
right.
she came up with and has built and has run and kept going. And they control everything that she does and force her hand in a lot of things. And
Yeah.
don't really like understand who she is. And that would be really straining and stressful and upsetting.
Yeah.
And at some point, you have to do what she did and weigh, okay, is my happiness and my like how much of my identity is Gramstead, which that is a struggle that she has throughout this entire
Yes.
book. Is like, is my identity Ava Garcia Green, the person, or is
Hmm.
my identity Gramsta, the app?
Exactly. I think you see that a lot in like celebrity. I'll go back to Taylor Swift. Like, who is she? Not that we need to know, but is she Taylor Swift, like the brand, or is she like a person? And I think a lot of her songs and things that she writes and talks about, like, she struggles with that immensely. And I think a lot of like celebrities do. It's like, who are you actually? Are you what your PR person puts out into the world? Or do you have your own individual identity? Or do they meld? And are you a mixture? And then is that really you?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's how you're being perceived by billions of people worldwide, is as the person, the brand.
Exactly.
That your PR is having you present yourself as. I mean, you're getting trained to present yourself as the brand when you go and you do publicity and you go on these talk shows and you do ads and you do commercials and you do like whatever it is, you make posts, you have to talk in a certain voice of the brand. And it's never who is the person when you go out into the public. And so the only time that you get to be the person is when you're in private and with the people that you trust the most, your inner circle. And you have to really have that's trust. Like, you have to know completely and absolutely that these people that you have around you have your back no matter what. Because if they don't, then they can go out in the world and they can be like, oh, this is actually, there's a break between this perception that you have of this person, the brand, and who this person is in real life. And the thing about the public is that it's really disturbing and distressing to people when the perception that they have does not match who a person really is.
Absolutely.
And we feel like we've been lied to if it isn't the same. Even though we know. we know
we're being lied to.
We know that it's a performance. We know that Taylor Swift, the person, cannot possibly go around talking to people like she is when she's on stage.
Right. Exactly.
Because that would be completely ridiculous and nobody would want to be her friend if she was going around being like, oh yeah, like.
Yeah, exactly.
It would be super weird and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But, and so it's just like this completely bizarre, weird wormhole that we've dug ourselves into. And Ava is at the epicenter of it. And she has to like be this really strong person and build a sense of identity outside of this thing that she has made her identity in order to break free of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I did like the end of the book where she did resign, where she's like, I'm former CEO of Gramsta and I'm going to go be happy with Joe in Harmony Springs. Like, I'm going to go do it. I'm going to go get my fairy tale ending because I've worked really hard and now it's time for me to actually be happy. So I did like the ending. My little girl heart who like loved fairy tales and happily ever after was like, yay for the lesbians. Happily ever after, no one died.
Yeah, it was sweet. I did like that they ended up together, and it wouldn't have felt right if Joe left Harmony Springs to go to LA. Like, that's
what I was thinking. I was like, no, because seriously, 3/4 into the book, I was like, how will this end? Because like, it wasn't even necessarily in my realm of possibility that Ava was going to give up the CEO until a little bit later. And I was like, but Joe can't leave Harmony Springs. Like, Joe has to stay there. She has to do the photo truck. Like, but then I was like, but how is Ava going to go there? Like, there'd have to be some major character development for that to happen, which I think did end up happening. Right. So yeah, I did like the way, like, I thought this was a really big credit to, Rena and Ella, for the character development and for the ending, because you're right. It wouldn't have felt right for Joe to go to LA.
Yeah.
She wouldn't do well there.
No. And at this point, the photo truck is a character in itself, and you can't abandon it. No. Like, it needs its own happy ending,
Exactly. And it got one. And, then, the other little thing at the end that I really liked was, Joe got so upset about the new truck with Ava because she was like, Ava doesn't understand the heart of the business and blah, blah, blah. And But then Emma found in the truck like this inscription, and it was like a piece from the old photo truck, her dad's original photo truck, put into the new one. And there was this whole thing about Theseus's ship, and if anyone knows the story, it's like a thought experiment of like, there's this warship in ancient Greece, and they have to start replacing parts. And once they start, when is the ship not the ship anymore? Right? If you've replaced every single part of the ship, is it still Theseus's ship? And she's like, well, no, because it's brand new. And they're like, well, what if you were salvaging the parts and rebuilding the other ship over here? Like, then is that the original ship, even though it's been like deconstructed and put back together? And I thought that was really sweet because I think there's something, and I'm not saying it's only specific to lesbians, but lesbians do listen to each other like really well. And when she, Jo had told Ava about this story with her dad and how important it was. And for Ava to take a little piece of the original truck and put it in the new one and then make like a reference to that storyline, I just thought was so sweet. And I think that's what changed Jo's mind and was like, Jo was like, oh my God, no, she does get it. She understands, she listens, she knows how important this is to me. And then for Ava to give up being CEO for Jo was like, I'm it. Like, how do I not? I thought that was really fucking sweet.
It was, yeah.
Oh, cute.
It was a heartwarming book, and these two did have good chemistry. There were great scenes in the bedroom.
There was 3 or 4. Very good.
Yeah.
Very well written sex scenes.
They were well written.
I was like, damn. These are good.
I would, if someone is looking for a Christmas story, I would recommend this.
Yeah, like a little Christmas, a little smutty, a little happy ever after. I think this is such a good book. It's a good gift too, I would say. Like if you're looking for like a holiday gift for a reader this Christmas, next Christmas, like it's cute. It's a cute little book. Yeah.
Yeah.
So hats off. We're gonna talk to Rena and Ella sometime soon on the pod. I cannot wait to have them on. We just need to get, I need to get my butt into the scheduling room and start scheduling with them. But yeah, we're looking forward to talking with them. Especially like, I can't wait to talk to Ella about a little bit of her and my little journey to where we are now. And then, I listened to Rena at the book launch talk so passionately about these characters and why they wrote this book and everything. So I can't wait for you guys all to hear it.
Oh, I'm excited to hear it too.
Yeah. Okay.
And you guys, we are about to talk about what our next read will be. So keep an eye out on the Instagram page so that you can read and listen for our next podcast episode on our books.
Yes, because Haley and I have some ideas, and I actually came up with one while we were talking that I think would be a really good one to do to kick off the new year.
Okay,
yeah.
Great.
I'm not going to say it, but
so excited. Okay.
Yeah. And I think we are taking a break next week. Yes.
Yes. So everyone just enjoy your families over the holiday breaks. If you don't celebrate Christmas, I hope that you still enjoyed this episode and just having some fellowship together over this holiday season. And I just hope you enjoy this cute little winter time, and we love you all.
We love you guys. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, happy December, whatever you celebrate. But we'll talk to you guys soon.
Bye.
Bye.